You're listening to Synergy to Synastry, the podcast where two corporate girlies called to follow their intuition take you on a journey of self-exploration through metaphysical modalities.
I'm Christine, intuitive coach and clairvoyant.
And I'm Renee, psychic intuitive and astrologer.
We're excited that you're here and honored to be your spiritual guides. If you enjoy this podcast, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen. It helps listeners find our show, plus it automatically enters you into our raffles to win a free psychic reading.
Now, let's get into the episode. Hello, Christine. Top of the morning to ya.
Are you Irish, by the way?
I am Irish.
Oh, there we go.
I'm saying this, and it's not even March. I'm like forecasting and doing a retrospective at the same time by referencing St. Patrick's Day.
Amazing.
What we're going to be talking about is the idea of planning versus manifesting. What do these ideas mean? How can you use them together, in tandem? How to differentiate them? For Christine, she views planning and manifesting as intertwined, and I have categorized them as separate processes. Christine, why don't you break down your perspective?
The way I kind of define manifesting is imagining something into reality. When I finally understand what it is I should be manifesting, it's like, oh, light bulb. The two main rules to manifesting are set it and forget it. And the second rule is don't give up just because you have no idea how it's going to happen or how it's going to come to fruition. Planning is the action we take to make it happen.
In contrast, I took to the dictionaries, so I'm going to loosely cite some definitions here. When you're planning something, it's the act of arranging a method or course of action. And when you're manifesting something, that's making it clear or apparent without doubt. Through the spiritual lens, it's applied to having something that you desire or you seek to come into form and fruition. And manifestation relies on the law of attraction, which is, quote, the belief that the things a person thinks about habitually or in a focused way are the things that will appear in their life. I view manifesting as energetic work that's in its own system. That's something that you can do. And you can also do things with planning. But I kind of compartmentalize them, even if your plans and your manifestations are aligned towards the same common goal. So one last thing before we dive deep into manifestation. The day this episode drops is March 29th, the date of the second spring 2025 eclipse. It is a new moon eclipse, but we do not recommend doing any manifestation on any eclipses ever, even though new moons are typically the time to do manifestation. We recommend waiting until the next new moon that's outside of the eclipse season, which occurs on April 27th.
So the big question, what can you manifest? You can manifest states of being, like I want to feel more joy. You can manifest bringing people into your life, like I'm looking to meet my soulmate. I'm looking to meet a web developer. You can call in all different types of people that you need. Thinking about what you want to manifest, you want to do some sort of energy work that will align you with the frequency of the life or the thing that you want. And you might be asking yourself, well, how do I manifest? And it doesn't have to be super complicated. You can journal. We love a good journal over here. Sometimes a free write is all it takes to get your brain moving. Speaking something into existence, you could literally sit by yourself and say, I want to quit smoking. And just saying it out loud and putting it out there tells the universe that you want it. You can do a guided meditation or a visualization. Imagination and intuition are very closely aligned. So even if you feel like you're just making things up in your head, that's okay. You are manifesting. We learned this when we were in the Nuurvana Be Light course. Daydreaming is actually a form of manifestation, and it's something I do a lot. And it's funny because last year I spent a month in Italy, but I remember talking to one of my mentors saying, I keep daydreaming for some reason that I'm going to be in Italy for like a really long period of time. And she was like, that's you manifesting it. And sure enough, it happened. You can take inspired action, imagining yourself as that future version of you who has what you want or is aligned with the life that you want. And what would they do that day, right? When they wake up, what's the first thing that they would do? That's your inspired action. You can use mantras. You can have a gratitude practice. Here's what I'm thankful for. I think we talked about an abundance of bagels one day. You received more bagels than you thought, and that felt like abundance. Be thankful for that. And that gives the universe the message that you're thankful for abundance. Let me give you more. You can manifest in any way that you like. And if you think of other ways that you manifest that work for you, please let us know. We'd love to chat about this.
Those are all really great tools and examples for manifestation. And I want to give the listeners a little PSA. There's an idea called co creation. If you are not familiar, it encapsulates the premise that even though you want something to be manifested in your life, it may not actually be energetically aligned with you. So you are, in fact, working with the universe, your spirit team, guides, whoever. Let's say you want to manifest a house. You're using any of the tools that Christine mentioned, and you're not having houses pop up on the market that are meeting your criteria in the place that you want. But maybe what happens is you see an apartment or you see the perfect house and it's in a totally different neighborhood. An alternative here is no houses are coming up. Months and months and months are going by. You're still not getting a house. You're like, I don't understand. Why am I not getting a house? And it's like, well, maybe if you got that house, the taxes would go up or it would be falling apart. It'd be a lemon of a house. You are going to lose your job. So actually, it's better that you don't have that house and you're living where you are because now you can financially afford your current standard of living versus if you had expenses of a house. In the event that you are trying to manifest something and something completely different comes your way and you're like, oh, really? Was that for my benefit? The answer might actually be yes. And it can be hard to see that without the perspective of hindsight or looking deeper and doing a little soul work. That sometimes it is an opportunity, even if it doesn't seem like one. This concept of co creation is another reason why manifestations require walking the walk, linking up action and embodiment in your day to day versus just planting the seed and walking away from it.
What you're saying is like, you can manifest, but if you don't get what you want, you're still manifesting. Like it's for your benefit.
Just because you're either not getting the thing that you specifically asked for, it might not be meant for you. You're not supposed to get that either now or ever. But it doesn't mean that you're not in a state of attracting with the law of attraction and that other things can come to you that either are a step on the way there or they're better.
This reminds me of a trading term. So, for all my financiers listening, there's an order type where you can say, like, I want to buy a stock at the midpoint price or better. The midpoint price is the price between the offer to buy and the offer to sell. It's like usually the best price. So, I feel like when we manifest, we say to the universe, I want X and I want X or better. The universe is going to give you X or better. So now Renee and I are on the exact same page. And here's where we differ ever so slightly. It's like a hairline fracture where we differ when we talk about manifestation. When I manifest something, and I'm going to use the example, I wanted to reverse my PCOS symptoms. So that looked like getting my hormones balanced. I set that intention. That's a big, lofty goal. Like to go ahead and do that is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. Anybody with an autoimmune disease knows that trying to heal your body is one of the most difficult things you're ever going to do. I think I set that intention in 2019 and I didn't fulfill it until 2024. So I really had to set it and forget it. And every time I had a setback, I had to remember not to dig up that manifestation because I planted that knowing somewhere down the line it would happen. It was just going to take time. All the opportunities that showed up along the way to me were part of the planning process, which kind of works together with manifestation. So I was presented with a hormone coach who helped me figure out how to measure my hormones to see without a blood test, is my body deficient in any vitamins or minerals that I could be getting more of? Is there a better way to work out for me? I was presented with this personal trainer who I've been working with for the last like 4 or 5 years. I manifested reversing my PCOS symptoms, and I eventually did that a few years down the road. But it almost feels like for Renee, the opportunity is the manifestation. Is that correct?
I'll use my example again. Maybe your goal is that you want to get a house in this exact neighborhood and the house has all these characteristics, and you don't get that, but you do get a realtor who is knowledgeable of that neighborhood. That's a step that could get you there. I view anything that is a milestone, a stepping stone, as progress, as a win. It's like celebrating your wins on the way, which also helps support with manifestation. Being happy that you have this opportunity and you have this resource that can help you achieve your manifestation just at a later date, because apparently the divine timing is not there. Christine was alluding to this same idea, but I use it to inform how I'm defining manifestation. When I do my new moon manifestation, I will always write, I accept the following or better into my life right now for the benefit of all concerned.
Midpoint or better.
That's exactly what I'm saying. It's the midpoint or better thing. In the manifestation intention that I am setting, I'm saying this is kind of what I'm looking for, but co-creation with the universe, have it present however it's supposed to present for me. Honestly, if I look back at my notes, most of the time I'm writing concepts. I'm writing states of being. How's my energy? What am I carrying with me? It is, in my mind, the partnership, but it's leaving some doors open also because if you're too fixed on it, then you can get disappointed. It's like setting the bar too high, setting the expectation. Manifestation is about releasing into the universe. It's about like letting things go versus trying to control everything. And I think that's probably part of why I separate the ideas, because I view planning in my own life as I am trying to prepare for and control outcomes. I'm setting a timeline versus manifesting is, all right, here's the thing I want, universe, if it's meant for me, then I'm saying and hopefully acting in alignment with receiving that.
I love this because I also love too when like I learned something new about the two of us. And so when you manifest, you write down concepts. Everything's very like flowy, it's open to interpretation. The water can kind of go wherever it wants to go. I write down exact things that I want in like magnitude. And what I find so interesting is your rising sign is Cancer, you are water, and you're flowy. And I am Capricorn rising, which is Earth to the T, and especially, like, business-minded Earth, and I'm like, "F it, like, we're going big or we're going home," and then, like, just I will let it go and then hope that, something comes of it. It's fascinating.
We talked about this briefly offline last week where I was talking about many examples, and some of it ties to perfectionism, and so some of it's the Virgo stuff, completely unrelated third party here that impacts both of us. Wanting to create order, wanting to understand, wanting to avoid risk, wanting to guarantee in some capacity comfort, security, safety. That's why you plan. That's why if you're someone who's anxious, season 1 we had an episode on anxiety. To avoid fear or prevent fear, you're trying to set yourself up for success, stability. I think in part that's why I frame moving into the manifestation work almost as the premise of this podcast. Synergy, the businessy stuff, planning versus moving into manifesting, saying, "All right, universe, I lost this, I lost that, this was cut from my life, this changed, all okay. Those things weren't meant for me, so what is?" And really being open to receiving and stepping into change and embracing it and being more fluid.
What I also love about this is you're listening to what works best for you. Like, if planning is gonna trigger you and make the manifestation process horrible, like, you're just not gonna do it, and I encourage the listener to do that as well. We're sharing how we do things, but that doesn't mean that's how you should do things, and if you see someone else on the internet who's telling you you have to manifest in, like, one specific way and it's the only way to do it, like, do not listen to a word that they say because we're all unique. Like, you do things in your own way. Take what resonates here and truly leave what doesn't. It doesn't mean you're not going to be able to manifest anything.
All right. So now that we've talked about manifesting for a little bit, I think we should circle back to planning.
Planning is one of my favorite things to do. I could plan for the rest of my life. It's actually quite relaxing. What I'm trying to manifest right now is a W-2 job so that I have income to fully support my business. On the full moon, I will figure out what I want to release. But I'll basically take those manifestations and then say, okay, what does somebody who is looking for a job do, right? I tap my network, meet people for coffee, I look for a recruiter, I update my LinkedIn, I update my resume. So I'll plan, I'll write out all of those steps. And I'll start taking those actions knowing full well that some are going to work and some aren't going to work. A bunch of people heard I was looking for a job indirectly, and people started reaching out to me saying, "Hey, I have an opportunity for you." I'm like, "Great." So, what was my plan? Prepare for the interview, go on the interview, write a thank you note, follow up. I did all of those steps. So and so isn't hiring, but they know a recruiter. They're going to put me in touch with them. What is my plan for that?
Seems like you mostly operate in the inspired action space.
Yeah, and I guess I feel like I call it planning because I have to sit down and be like, okay, this week, what time am I going to block off to put
Mhm.
towards this manifestation or this goal, however you want to put that. So I guess that's why I view it as planning.
Right. I'm similar in that I view planning as having 45 items on my to-do list, putting stuff in my calendar and blocking time and setting reminders and checking things off, thinking of new ideas and then writing them down and making sure that that list is organized of the things that I want to do down the road because I don't have time to do them now. That is very much for me the manifesting generator planner mindset. What I've been working on is dialing back the impulse to just immediately start executing everything because I will burn myself out because I have too many ideas. I have to be reasonable about what I need to accomplish right now or what will reap the most benefits or support the foundation of my next steps. If I have a goal, reach a certain number of events or new clients, if I do these things now, then that means in 3 months, I can do that thing. Short term feeding into long term. For manifesting, in a way, set it and forget it, but I have it as a practice every single month. I use mantras. So I use several of the tools that Christine outlined at the very top of the episode most days for some period of time doing a small little bit of something, knowing when I take action that's part of a bigger strategic plan that will help me with maybe something I am trying to manifest. But the planning piece is something that I have battled with. I have received from our psychic friends many, many a time in our readings. I have to plan less, to be more flexible, to just allow things to happen, have an impromptu day, tap into my creativity more. Definitely been doing that. That is for sure. I am naturally a planner. I have my Virgo moon. My brain wants to process by creating order. I feel emotionally secure when I create order. If I reject that and say, I'm just going to throw all planning out the window, then I'm not properly integrating that and accepting it within myself. It is a fine line for me, recognizing some of the impulse to do that and then trying to put a check on myself where I'm going a little bit too far so that I can make sure I am resting, I am recharging, I am not self inducing stress or burnout. I only did 2 things on my to-do list, but that's because 6 things got added impromptu that weren't originally on it. So actually I got 8 things done today. Why am I mad? It's a big reframing. And when you can clear some of that noise out, then you actually have space for doing what manifestation work is and being open to receiving.
What you just said. I mean, how many of us are addicted to our to do list? Or we associate ticking off things on our to do list with productivity and self worth, and we beat ourselves up. I think it's really important that you said that and that other people hear it.
This podcast isn't sponsored, but if you'd like to support our work, Check out the Buy Me a Coffee link in the episode description to leave us a tip.
Thank you. Should we say thank you in other languages? Grazie. Dankeschön. No? No, we don't like it?
I wasn't
Gracias.
expecting the German, but yeah.
Oh. I went to Germany once.
We should think of more.
I know, I'm trying to obrigado.
What's that
Is
one?
obrigado thank you? Yeah. Portuguese.
Our next topic is this idea of control versus trust. If you want to hear our talk on the universe, source, asking for receiving signs, go back to season 1, episode 9. Christine, why don't you start off this discussion? How do you hold this polarity of control versus trust?
I think the big question here is how do we trust something that we can't see? Like, how do we know what the next step is if we're not entirely sure where we're going? What is that joke? If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Good for you. We think we have control. But in reality, we don't. There's an energy behind us that's pushing us toward the things that we're looking to achieve in this life. Let's use reversing my PCOS symptoms. I would try to control things because I wasn't seeing results right away. I was only eating gluten and dairy free anywhere that I went. I would even pack up food sometimes to go to places because, God forbid, I had one morsel of food that was not gluten free. In my experience, when I'm trying to control without working with the universe and just focusing on me and what I could do alone and putting it all on my shoulders, it feels like the weight of the world is on my shoulders. And then when I'm trusting in the universe, I feel free, I feel expansive, opportunities seem to fall into my lap.
We mentioned this a little bit already before the jump. We are officially in the Virgo Pisces eclipse series. For the next couple years, we're going to be dealing with this axis of Virgo and Pisces. And Pisces is very much connected to other realms, to dreams, to intuition, energy, sensitivities, a lack of control, sometimes to the detriment of somebody because it's escapism and inaction. Whereas Virgo on the opposite end, helping other people, thinking about your own health and well being, it's very earthy and grounded. What all of us are being called to work on this year, next year, going into 2027, you're releasing yourself from the chains of a fear of the unknown. Trust in yourself that you're prepared. You have the skill set, you have the resources, your circle, whatever is necessary for anything that comes your way. I have become so much better at kind of laughing some of it off. Like, all right, this is really annoying and frustrating, and all of these quote unquote horrible things are happening. But at least now my mind goes very quickly to, I guess this is happening for a reason and it's making room for something else, or that wasn't meant to last. And I have found so much more peace of mind in being able to think about challenges and shedding. I just keep getting the visual of like you're like riding a bike and it's like somebody pushes you off your bike. It feels like that. So it's like, okay, well, that wasn't great. I'm a little scraped up, but I haven't forgotten how to ride a bike. I can just get back on and I can keep going. And maybe I can adjust my behavior a little bit depending on whatever it is. Or it's just, it was a hiccup. There was a little bump in the sidewalk. And so I got knocked off my bike. You can just kind of keep going on your mission and the destination you're trying to get to on this little happy bike ride. Do you like this analogy?
I love the bicycle analogy, especially as somebody who cannot ride a bike. It
What?
really resonates. You didn't know this?
No.
Oh my god, yeah, I never fully learned. Anywho, so what I wanted to share with the listeners is I write myself an affirmation every week. This is the affirmation. I am confident in my ability to manage my time and tasks. I am human, and I am allowed to take breaks and prioritize my well-being. Every step I take brings me closer to my goals. Something about just saying that calms my nervous system, so I hope it does for you too.
Speaking of tools, the last thing that we wanted to talk about is some of the resources that you can use for this work, planning and for manifesting. So, the first tool that we want to recommend, we learned from the Nuurvana program. And it is a very simple decision making tool. I absolutely use this every single day of my life. I have been using it ever since we learned it. You ask very simple yes or no questions or posing a few specific and distinct options. I do this in readings for people as well all the time. As an example, somebody will ask about their career. Should I stay at this company? Should I seek a promotion? Should I do something totally different? So I'll create different buckets, these lanes of options. And then I visualize the person I'm reading as an avatar. And I'll place them one at a time on each of the three options and then see what happens to their energy. In Nirvana, I think for the most part, we used it as like a rose or something like that. What happens to the flower? Is it wilting? Is it sparkly? You can use the same symbol every single time, or it can vary for yourself, or if you happen to be reading other people as we do. You'll see how it reacts. And that can give you some information, some indicators on what's an energetically aligned path. I'm very careful on my word choice here. It's not what's the right path. It's what are your guides pointing you towards? And sometimes your guides will point you to things that don't work out, but it's because you're going to learn something. That is the trust versus control that we were just talking about. With the yes or no, that's a little simpler, a little less woo. We talked about this actually a little bit in the anxiety episode in season 1, where you're checking in with your body. How is your body reacting? Are you feeling open? Are you feeling excited, jittery? Or are you feeling very tense, afraid, whatever this sensation is? And obviously, just because you're afraid of something doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. That's a whole other thing of unpacking. But in the very, very simple terms, if you're asking even a benign question, I'm going into the office. Should I take the elevator or should I take the stairs? See what the yes or no says. And maybe you'll find you take the stairs and you run into somebody and you have a nice chat with them.
I forgot all about the flower. I'm going to share how I visualize it in case it helps anyone else. But basically, what I do is I hold up however many different doors. If I'm asking myself a question with like two options, I always put a third door. What if there's a third option? If a door dissolves, I know that that's not an option. Sometimes I'll have lights above the doors, and if they blink green, it could be an option. And if they blink red, they're not an option for me. And then I open the door and walk in. If I'm seeing cobwebs in that closet, it's probably not a good decision. If I'm seeing like a beautiful rainbow and unicorns and butterflies, it's probably a decision that I'm going to feel good taking.
So, the last thing that we wanted to do is a very, very brief exercise. If you want to grab a pen and paper, your digital device, you want to write this down or circle back later, you can do this anytime that you'd like.
Write down, what it is you want. Should I have pizza today? Well, why? Well, because I'm going to be hungry. Well, why are you going to be hungry? And you keep asking yourself why like 4 or 5 times until you like distill it down into what it is you really want. You may get to the point you start off talking about pizza when in reality, like, you're actually just sad and you want some carbs to make you feel happy or like a nostalgic food to make you feel better. Maybe I'll make sure I go take a walk outside as well and get some sun on my face. Something like that. The next journaling prompt that you can use, what feels open versus what feels closed. For example, let's go back to lunch. Do I want to have pizza or a salad? When I say pizza or when I imagine myself eating pizza, does that feel like an expansive experience? Does that feel open or does it feel tight and closed and constrictive? And just write it down. And then imagine yourself having salad and what does that feel like? And the reason I say write it down is because it makes you a neutral party in what's happening. And it also like gets you into the habit of noticing what your body's trying to tell you. The last thing on this list, I have to give my mom credit for because even when I was little and I would have trouble making a decision, she would always say, write a pros and cons list. And at some point, when you're writing out your pros and cons list, it doesn't even matter what the pros and cons are. You're just going to start writing so many pros or so many cons. And it's going to be very apparent which way you should go.
I just want to add, just hearing all of those. Obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, you have some curiosities about more of the metaphysical stuff, but maybe you're not acting on it. That's okay. These practices allow you to observe yourself, to track things over time in very simple, digestible ways. You just do what feels right to you. And guess what? That is you aligning with energetics. You're probably getting signals from the universe. You're feeling lighter, you're feeling inspired, you're feeling good about it. You're for some reason feeling especially drawn to this questions exercise as an example. Okay, well, there's probably a reason for that, and you'll find out when you do it. Even anything that on paper looks like it's a very grounded, earthly practice, you still could be connecting with your intuition, even if you don't think you're intuitive. You are, and you can get information. Now, on to our dream segment. I am curious because the note you have in our shared doc is very cryptic, and I would like to know what this dream's about.
Okay, so I thought this was really cool. Basically, I had this dream where I drove to the Verrazano Bridge on the Staten Island side. I had to take a boat under the water into this like new place. And the water was like cerulean blue, and there was a long stone pier jutting out into the water, and people were walking along it, and there were these beautiful snow covered mountains. And I hear it's called the town of Beryl. My uncle, who passed away, who is one of my favorite uncles, his Hebrew name is Beryl, and he lived in Brooklyn. So it's interesting that I had to specifically drive to the Verrazano Bridge on the Staten Island side because when you cross over it, you end up in Brooklyn, and he lived like right over the bridge. Visitation dreams may not always be where you see the person in the dream or you have this like physical contact. For me, it was this experience of like what he's building on the other side. And it was just so beautiful. And it was just such a great feeling while I was there.
I love that example. I don't think I've had a visitation dream like that, but I agree. I think it definitely counts because I view a visitation as any spirit that's coming in and shaping something within your dream.
Yeah. So it was very cool. I've never had a dream like this actually either, but I was like, that was definitely my uncle. It was definitely Beryl. That was not what we called him in real life. It was just his Hebrew name. I woke up that morning and I felt vibrancy of love. I felt very warm. So anyway, I wish that for the listeners as well. You have a lot of symbols listed, and I want to know what all of them mean.
I pulled this one saga of a dream from a night where I had a ridiculous amount of dreams. I was in a classroom and it was a music room, and I go to pick up a guitar. I go to play it, but it's not working. Not that the strings are broken, but that there isn't sound coming out of it. I was like, oh, that's kind of weird, whatever. Just leave. And I knew that I was running a little bit late for something. Oh, I'm just going to run out to my car real quick. So I'm walking outside, I'm going into the parking lot, and my car is missing.
I'm already stressed out, so
Yeah, my car is gone. I'm kind of walking around the parking lot. I wasn't panicked, but I was just like, well, this is horrible. And I'm definitely going to be late for whatever this activity is because this is a much more pressing issue. And I go out onto the sidewalk, and all of a sudden, I'm aware of the fact that I'm in London. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I don't know who to contact. Do I like contact the police? And I was like, do I have like, what's my phone plan? Like, can I talk to my mom? Is she even up now? Like, I was like, I'm running through all this stuff as I'm walking on the sidewalk. And then I actually come upon, conveniently, some police officers, but they're actually on this street corner because there's a protest happening. And it's an environmental protest. And there's a couple people that are shouting and saying some things. I couldn't remember the details when I woke up. I'm hearing a little bit of the protest and essentially detoured around this. And so then I come upon this building and I look down and I see that there's a foam ball on the ground and it has a note tied to it. Can you believe this dream? I'm not even done.
did the note say not Penny's boat?
No! I would have definitely remembered that. I don't know what it said, but if it said not Penny's boat, you know I would have remembered. I would have been saying, "Where's Desmond?" So I pick it up and I'm realizing It must have been thrown down. So I look up to the top of this building and there's somebody on the roof. I know that it's like my partner and that they were kidnapped. Christine's jaw's on the floor because, yeah, I'm still not done with this dream, okay? I wanna know scientifically, like, how long was I in this dream for? Was this, like, 30 seconds? Was this, like, an hour? I don't know, but it was moving very quickly, and there were a lot of details, and there were many, many turns. So, I'm picking them up, I'm kind of walking around the building, and I'm trying to think about what to do, and then suddenly, this parking lot that I'm in transitions, and it's like a retail shop. It literally did a transition. It wasn't just, "Oh, I'm blurring dreams together." It was I'm walking and it was cars, and then all of a sudden there's beds, and I was like, "Why are there beds?" And then all of a sudden I'm inside. I just walked into a place that became different. And my sister was there, like, taking a nap, and I walk over to this section where I'm looking at nail colors. 2 seconds ago, my partner was on a rooftop captive throwing me secret messages, and I am suddenly looking at nail colors, okay? And so my sister wakes up from her nap 3 seconds later and walks over to me, and I start to show her my nails, and I'm telling her how I was thinking of doing this neutral color. For anyone that knows me, I paint my nails, like, once every few years. It is very infrequent. I am showing her my nails, so I'm seeing my own hands in the dream, and I have long pointed nails, which I do not have. I have, like, regular length nails because contacts, gotta keep them short, and they were partially painted so that they were incomplete. To break it down, I looked up a bunch of the symbols I thought were of note. Number 1, guitar at the beginning that was not working, it was not producing sound. That can symbolize a lack of recognition or that your efforts are being undervalued. The stolen car can be shedding old identities or feeling vulnerable about your path ahead. Witnessing a protest in a dream can either be an indicator of what's going on with the collective. I would say in part that is pretty accurate. Or it's a call to action for you. Hey, maybe you should be caring about that. Thirdly, it can be an indicator that there's progress coming. Keep in mind the protest that was in my dream was about something environmental. Next, receiving a secret message. Messages are coming to you, insights are coming. And then finally, this one was very specific, unfinished, long, nude colored nails. I was able to piece this together with looking up the different symbols. An incomplete journey to actualizing your authenticity. Christine, what do you think of this dream?
I was stressed out a little bit. There's a lot happening here, but I wonder, like, all of these symbols seem quite relevant. If you had to, like, summarize what you think this dream was trying to tell you in, like, one sentence, what do you think it would be?
There's a thread of vulnerability, so it's action or inaction. Like, am I able to act?
Mhm.
I'm trying to play the guitar. I can't do it. I'm trying to go to my car. I can't do it. Seeing somebody is helpless, they're captive. And apparently, I'm suddenly in a retail center. So I guess I did nothing about it. And the fact that my nails were incomplete, and I noticed that. And I was like, why are they like half painted? I view this as affirming what I am very aware of, which is we are in transition, but I'm getting some positive indicators that I'm making progress. I'm not fully there. And that's why I'm not receiving the things I'm hoping to receive.
Love this so much. Now for our psychic reading portion of the podcast. I saw like the Grinch doing that whole dialogue of yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. Kind of like there's like a little bit of indecision happening. And then I felt like there was something stuck in my throat and I couldn't get it out. I'm not sure what to say or I wasn't able to communicate. And then I see myself, resting my throat, laying in bed, drinking hot tea, having lemon, honey. And there's a battery meter above my head and I see the meter starting to turn green. When you're in New York City, you're on top of 5,000 people just walking out the door. Interacting with so many people is just draining our batteries. There's like energy vampires, the air is dry, the weather is changing. Not putting ourselves in a position to be around so many people and kind of expend so much energy when we're just not feeling right now. Downsize your home, downsize your friend group, downsize your to-do list. It's okay to not do or be everything. And the mantra that I came up with is I care for others by caring for myself.
Your reading is very much holding hands with my reading. Christine didn't pull the cards, but before we sat down today, I got the little psychic ping. Pull some cards. So I actually ended up pulling 4, not 1, 4 cards from the Moonology Manifestation Oracle deck. When I first tuned in, the Beyonce song, that Freedom song that was in all of Kamala's campaign came in my head. I don't even really know all the words to that, but I was like, rip. And I was seeing like the big wide rimmed hat that she had and throwing shade on the haters. That was the energy that just came in right away. I immediately got pushed to flip over my first card of 4. Last quarter moon in Gemini, clear your mind. This couples fantastically with the fact that this episode is dropping on an eclipse day. And we're always encouraging people for eclipses. It's beginnings, it's endings, it's a clean slate. Take it easy. So, even some of the self care stuff that Christine was talking about definitely makes sense with when this will air. We have the Beyonce song at the beginning, and that feels like, oh, you're really empowered. You're going to go do something. But it was immediately pushed back with, okay, you have to clear your mind. What's going on up here? Take some inventory and get prepared. The term regulations. How are you self regulating? How are you staying in balance? Or are you overcorrecting in any capacity? How are you being pressured socially and economically to stay within certain bounds? I go to flip over my next card, laughed out loud, because everything I just said describes Capricorn, and guess what's on the card? Full moon in Capricorn. Take a reality check. You're taking inventory of your mind, you're taking inventory of your surroundings, what you're doing with your energy, how you are interacting with other people, because you have your desire, you have your thing that you want to accomplish, but you're really just looking around, you're turning over every rock to make sure you fully have an understanding of what's happening. And then I was taken to this visual of a door. So you're in front of a door and you're inspecting it. Is this to code? Is this working properly? So you're not thinking about what's beyond the door. Where's this door going to go? You're like, is this door up to snuff? Do I like the door? You're so intense about assessing the quality of it. Ultimately, it's more about whether it meets your standards rather than if it's like how it might appear to other people. The new moon in Libra, know you are loved. We're moving from Capricorn, very much about control, boundaries, making a plan, and then Libra, which is about connection with others. So, Christine, you talked about that as well, relationships with other people. That's Libra. We're clearing our mind out. We're assessing what's going on around us. Is it up to our standards? And then saying, okay, well, I'm ready for love. I'm ready for joy. I'm ready for things to come in. And then I was seeing a chain link. When I look at the fundamental bonds in my life, are they sturdy? Are they bringing me laughter? Are they bringing me joy? And from here, I flip over the final card, first quarter moon in Libra. Keep your heart open. I love when there's a storyline, it's my favorite. Very much on point with what I was just saying and what I had intuited before. Don't let the guards that you have up, Capricorn boundaries, prevent you from actually calling in more joy and connection. Just as a quick thing to point out, we had last quarter, full moon, new moon, first quarter. So out of order in a normal moon cycle, but we still got one of each kind. And we had 3 air signs, 2 Libra, 1 Gemini. Then we had Capricorn, which is an earth sign.
Mine was like, you're going to interact with energy vampires. It's okay to like downsize. And yours was kind of like, are the people that you're interacting with serving you? I love when we like read and then end up having a sister reading.
Whatever it is that we're picking up on, we are picking up on the exact same thing.
I love it. If you're listening to this and something about the reading resonates for you, please tell us because we're obsessed and we want to know.
We're obsessed with you. Why are you so obsessed with me? No, but it is really fun. And I always encourage like anybody that I give a reading to, Give me updates. Let me know if something happened because it's really great validation for us intuitives to see that something panned out, see that it resonates with you, especially when you were hearing something at the time. You're like, oh, I'm not so sure about that. And like 6 months later, you're like, oh my gosh, that exact thing happened. You'll know in real time if this is applying to you because these readings aren't set up to be forecasting for the next 6 months. It's for this specific window. What's happening in this moment of time?
Thanks for listening. If you'd like to learn more, the resources we used to prepare for this episode are listed in the show notes.
If you're curious to develop your intuition, we've partnered with the Nuurvana Be Light program to give our listeners a $500 discount on tuition fees. Email us for more details and we'll connect you with the founder, Deganit Noor.
Want to connect with us? You can reach me, Christine, at Channeled by Christine with 1L on Instagram.
And you can reach me, Renee, at _read by Renee, or connect with us both via email at synergytosynastry@gmail.com.
Keep your spirit curious and your aura sparkling.
We'll see you when the stars next align. What does that look like for you, Christine? Christine.
Yeah.
Can't say your name.
Wanene.
1A. 1A. Did that make it into an episode? I can't remember.
I think it did.
Okay.
It was when like I just couldn't speak and I was like 1A. Okay. Sorry, my brain. Don't take up and doubt what you manifested in faith. Don't take up and doubt.
Remember when we first started this podcast and we'd write stuff down and you would literally just read exactly what it said? And it's like, no, that was a rough note. That's not even a complete thought. And there's no transitions.
I am Ron Burgundy, and that's probably why Anchorman is one of my favorite movies. I read what's on the teleprompter. So thank you for fixing that.